I'm Shannon Ireland, your host of a Healthy Push podcast. I struggled with anxiety, panic disorder, and agoraphobia for 15 years. Everything used to be hard for me. Even just driving 5 minutes from my house used to feel impossible. But now I absolutely live for travel and adventure, and I experience lots of peace and joy. I've not only reclaimed my life, but I've helped hundreds of others to do the same. Here, we stop managing anxiety and instead we create a healthy relationship with it. One where you say goodbye to the anxious thoughts, symptoms, panic attacks, and fears, and you actually live your life. Forget complicated strategies, quick fixes, or the same old hacks you've heard 100 times before. Each week, I'll bring you simple, actionable advice and honest conversations that lead to real, long-term healing. You aren't just an anxious person, my friend. There are reasons why you're struggling with anxiety, and these are things you can fix and heal from. And this is where that journey begins. Welcome. You're right where you're meant to be. Hello, and welcome back to a Healthy Push podcast. So I'm sitting down and recording another solo episode, and this solo is sort of in follow-up from my last solo episode where I gave you some life updates. And if you've been following me here through the podcast or on social media, you know life has been a bit crazy and chaotic for me for a little bit now. And so I polled my Instagram community and I said, hey, would you be interested in knowing what I do on a daily basis to support myself, especially while I'm going through all this craziness, so that I don't go back to where I was ever again, where I was struggling with that disordered anxiety and panic attacks and fear? Because I have said I'm never, ever going back there. So in this episode, I really just want to get honest with you and tell you like what I do on a day-to-day basis to support myself, because how we support ourselves in our day-to-day is really important. If you are not taking care of yourself in those small, basic, healthy ways, it can lead to a lot of anxiety. But also, if you're already experiencing anxiety and panic and all the things, it can just ramp everything up. So I feel like this is an important discussion. And I kind of want to start here. So I am an avid podcast listener. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts and I mostly listen to health and wellness and self-help type podcast. I mean, are you surprised? But I often listen to these podcasts and in these different episodes where people talk about this, right? How they support themselves and like what are the wellness habits that they do and like what does their day-to-day look like. I am often sitting there listening and I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, who has the time and who has the money for all of this stuff? I'm talking like exercise classes and red light treatments and saunas and meditation and journaling and foods and like all this different stuff. I could go on. And it is just so overwhelming for me to listen to. And I'm like, wait, this is just what your morning routine looks like? It's like, what do you have going on in life that you have all this time to be dedicated to doing this stuff? And it kind of makes me feel a lot of different things. It's like you are selling people this idea, one, that like they need to do all this shit to be in a good place. Two, you're throwing out these really unrealistic standards for like how to take care of yourself, because I can't imagine any of my family and friends like, we have busy lives, we have kids, we have all these different things going on. And I can't imagine that people have the time for this stuff. But also, the third thing, right, is how do you have the money? Like, how do you have the resources for all this? But I think for me, what it really comes down to is pausing and asking yourself, is this necessary? Like, is all of this shit necessary? And I don't know. I kind of sit there sometimes while I'm listening to these episodes and I just roll my eyes and I'm like, how are we selling people on this idea that this is what things need to look like? And listening to stuff like this honestly makes me feel not just frustrated, but kind of upset and sad, because these messages really make people feel like they need to do all of this stuff to feel better or to feel just good. And it sets such unrealistic standards. Like, we don't need all this shit. especially when you're already struggling. Like, you cannot add all the things and this insane routine on top of things and expect it to help and expect yourself to feel less anxious and overwhelmed and stressed. And honestly, I just keep going back to this. It's like, I know in my life, like, I am a mom and I run a business, and there's a lot of life stuff happening. Like, I don't have time for all of this stuff. So, this isn't what you're going to hear here in this episode. I'm not going to overwhelm you because I truly believe that doing less is exactly what our minds and bodies need, not just when we're struggling, but all the time. Like, we need less. Less doing, more being leads to so much peace and joy and presence and all the things that we really want in life. And I love giving analogies, and this is just like on my mind. So, another thing, a huge pet peeve of mine is when I hear people talk about their skincare routines. Those videos, like, I get sucked into them because I'm like, oh my God, like, this is what you do to your face? Like, when people share those videos of their skincare routine, and, like, I don't mean to, I'm not, like, not shitting on anyone, honestly, but it just blows my mind. I'm like, 1, how do you have all the time for this? 2, that must have cost a lot of money, and 3, like, is this necessary? So I want to give you this analogy with wellness and with taking care of yourself and supporting yourself. It's kind of like skincare. Like, your face needs simplicity. Your face needs to be washed with water, and it does not need a 10-step process. I have to tell you this. One of my friends is an esthetician and she does my facials, and she's amazing and very holistic. And the first time I saw her, she was like, "Oh my gosh, your skin's amazing. What do you do to it?" And I'm like, nothing. I literally wash it with water. I maybe sometimes at night put this like serum on. It makes my skin more hydrated. But other than that, like, nothing. And she was like, beautiful. Keep doing that. Like, you don't need to add anything or change anything. I think oftentimes when people do this, right, have these crazy routines, and I'm going to stick with the skincare thing for a second because I'm stuck on it. But when people have these 10-step processes for their face and their skin breaks out and they continue to have problems because their skin is like, no, 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 like, we don't need all this. We got this. Like, can you just let us be? And I think that this is very similar to mental health, right? When we're struggling with our mental health, we're like, okay, and now I'm going to throw all the shit at it and I'm going to try to fix it. And like, like with skincare, it's like, I don't want to have any breakouts. I don't want to have any blemishes. And then we throw more shit on top of it and our skin's just like reacting. Similar with mental health, right? Your brain is like, oh my God, can you stop? Like, can you stop trying to throw all the things at me? I'm trying my best to take care of this, right? And you adding more on top is not helpful. So, my message here really is less is truly more, and so incredibly helpful. Okay, that was a bit of a tangent. I'm sorry. Back to wellness routines and like supporting yourself. I kind of hate the word routine. Like, when I hear this, I'm just like, oh my God, because I'm that person. If I have to try to create and fit in a routine, I'm already quitting. Like, I don't have time to be doing 3, 4, 5 steps, especially in the morning. I'm also not a morning person. Like, I don't want to wake up and have this list of things that I need to do to get present and to be grounded and to like be at peace. No, no, no. I am a divorced mom. I own my own business. I don't have time for all this stuff. And I feel like a lot of the people who I work with are in similar situations. Like, they have families, they have businesses, they have work, they have lives, and they want to have fun and they want to have joy. And like, we don't need all of these crazy routines and all of these steps that we have to go through in order to support ourselves and take care of ourselves. Like, it's actually a lot more simple than that. So, what I'm going to share with you is how I actually support myself in ways that don't feel like a chore and they don't feel overwhelming and they are not anxiety producing. Like, they actually feel good and they really help me to be in this like even state. Not to say I don't have these spikes, right? Where I do experience some very normal anxiety or I feel off or tired or whatever, because we all fluctuate. Like, you can't always feel in this even, calm, like balanced place all the time. But when I do go into those moments where I feel that overwhelm, that anxiety, that tiredness, it's much more easy for me to come back down to balance because I am supporting myself in small, basic ways and I'm not overwhelming myself even more. So, if you're not up to speed, I'm going to catch you up to speed real quick. For the past 3 ish years, I have been going through it. I've gone through a separation, a divorce. I've moved multiple times. My daughter has changed a school system. I got into a new relationship. The list goes on. Like, I have had a lot going on. And I am just going to share with you those practical ways I've supported myself through the past 3 years because honestly, I look back and I'm like, I have no idea how my body has not gone there with like anxiety and panic and all the things because I've had so much. But I really think it's just such a testament to these small, basic ways that you can support yourself. It really goes such a long way and allows you to have challenges and these things thrown at you and a little bit of chaos without your body and mind going off the rails, right? And experiencing a lot of that disordered anxiety and panic and fear. Okay, so I'm going to stop rambling and I'm going to get into it and share the things with you that I do on a daily basis to take care of myself. So I take walks outside every day. Maybe I might miss a day here and there, like if something really crazy is going on, but this is usually a non-negotiable for me. Like I get outside and I walk and it doesn't matter what the weather is like. I need to be outside. And I really try to do this in the morning just to sort of like get my body and brain in that state of like, okay, we're starting the day and here's some sunlight and here's some movement and here's some fresh air. So I take a walk for at least 20 minutes outside, and I am typically more so moving at like a pretty good pace. Like I am trying to get my body moving, right? Trying to get some of that energy out. And that really just helps me to feel good and my body to feel good. If I try to sit down and work before I've walked, it usually does not go very well. Like I need a walk. And like I said, I don't care what the weather is. I live in Maine. Like I would say at least 8 or 9 months out of the year, it's cold or it's rainy or it's just not warm and sunny and nice out. I am still outside walking. I can't emphasize enough how powerful being outside and being in nature is. So, this is kind of my next one because these two things are a little bit different because you can obviously walk inside, you can walk in whatever ways or move your body in whatever way that feels good for you, but I always spend time in nature, whether it's walking or if it's just sitting outside or playing with my daughter or doing an activity. Like I love sports, I love activities. Time in nature is something that I've always prioritized and I will always prioritize because I see the benefits of it. Like it's the best way to get present and connected. Like being outside in nature, talk about mindfulness. Like there's so much going on, there's so much around you, so much that your senses are sort of like picking up on. And it's just much easier, I find, to be present and mindful when you're outside in nature. And when I say time in nature, this doesn't mean like go in the woods or find a trail walk, or it doesn't have to look any way. Like just time outside, sitting on your front stairs or sitting on a bench outside of your apartment building if you live in an apartment, like whatever it can look like, spend time in a garden, spend time outside with friends, do an activity. Like time in nature every day goes such a long way. Okay, the next thing and a big one is I always watch my self talk. I learned this back when I was struggling with anxiety, and it's something that I will never get away from because I have seen like the benefits and how sort of damaging and unhelpful it can be when I'm not paying attention to my self talk. So I am always sort of noticing what's going on internally. And when I have self talk that comes up that is not very kind, not very compassionate, like I'm just being an asshole to myself, I always catch myself and I'm like, okay, Shannon, no, 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 we're not going there, right? Like, okay, we don't feel good about this, or we're frustrated, or upset, or sad. This thing happened and this is really hard, but what would you say to a friend, right? What would you say to somebody who's going through this? What would you say to somebody who's saying this and feeling this way? You would give them kind messages. So I always slow things down and make sure what's going on internally is healthy. And not to say it's always positive, but I'm always looking at things in a way of like, okay, how can I look at this differently? How can I look at this with more curiosity and compassion and kindness? I feel like I saw this on Pinterest a long time ago, and I'm gonna get this wrong, but it was, like, essentially just a picture of a head, and it said under it, like, "This is where you spend the most time. Make sure that you're speaking kindly to yourself." And it's just so true. I think so many of us are walking around and there's so much just unhealthy chatter going on and unhealthy messages that we're giving ourselves. And we're just beating ourselves up. And can you imagine, right, what that feels like to hear and to believe and to carry? And it really truly affects every aspect. It affects your decisions, it affects how you feel, it affects your motivation and your self confidence and your self trust. So I am very conscious of this. Like, I am very aware of my self talk and I am so nice to myself. And I think being a mom and having a little girl, it helps a lot because I obviously always want to give my daughter kind, compassionate messages. And I never want her to learn like it's okay to be an asshole to yourself. Like, it's okay to treat yourself this way. No, like, I always want her to carry that. Like, I have got to support myself and be so kind to myself because we're not always going to get that externally. So I will notice my self talk during the day and I'll work to shift that to be more curious and healthy and compassionate. And I'll randomly give myself kind messages and helpful messages. And I'll say things like, "Hey, Shannon, I'm really proud of you. That was hard or that was shitty and you got through it." Because really, who else is going to do this? Like, you are living with yourself every day. You're carrying yourself around, right? And you have control of this chatter that's going on. And you are the only one, right, who can sort of give yourself that support and those messages all the time consistently that you need that's going to help you. So, self-talk, daily basis, super important. Okay, the next one, and it's another big one. I do something I enjoy every freaking day. And usually it's honestly walking. Like, I don't always have the time to fit in, like, all the fun and the joy and, like, the things that I might really wanna do. Like, I might wanna go for a hike or might wanna go for a bike ride, and that's not always possible, but walking is typically always possible. But there are other things, right? Sometimes it's just listening to a podcast I love. Like, I love listening to Giggly Squad. I don't know if there are any other gigglers out there. Sort of shout out here. I love listening to podcasts, and there are certain podcasts that I really look forward to week, and it just brings me joy to listen to them. So sometimes it's little things, like also watching The Real Housewives. Like, I love The Real Housewives. It allows me to disconnect. It's so different than my life. Like, it's nonsense. It's so stupid, but it allows me to not take things seriously, right? And just like kind of laugh and poke fun at the lives that other people live. And sometimes it's getting myself a $7 iced chai latte, which I always am like, why did I just do that? I could have just made this at home on my own and not spent that $7. But sometimes it brings you joy, right? Like, I walk to the coffee shop, I get to interact with people, I get this yummy treat that tastes good. So sometimes it's just really simple things. Like, you don't need to go crazy, but doing something that you enjoy every single day will help so much. Okay, another thing is I make an effort to connect with my family and friends daily. I used to not do this. I used to definitely be somebody who is more isolated. I'm introverted anyway, but I could see that it really wasn't serving me. And it does take effort to connect. I think this is why a lot of us don't do it. But when you make the effort to connect with family and friends, you get so much out of it. Like, I always feel better after I talk to my mom or my best friend, whether it's text or whether we call and talk on the phone, like, just to be able to say, "Here's what's going on. I just want you to listen to me," or, "Hey, what do you have going on? I'd love to, like, hear you, and if there's anything I can do to support you." And sometimes it's me asking, right? I need you to listen, or I need support, or I need advice. Like, what do you think about this? I learned from years of holding on to stuff and acting like I'm fine and I can do it all on my own actually doesn't work at all. And honestly, makes you feel like shit. Like, it makes me feel awful to isolate and to not connect with people. So I make an effort every day. And sometimes it is just my mom that I'm connecting with. And I say just, like, that sounds kind of hurtful, but connecting with my mom every day, like, that feels good. And it's oftentimes just like, "Hey, what are you doing today?" Or like, "I hope you have a good day." Just like those little connections go such a long way. Okay, the next thing I do on a day-to-day basis to support myself, and this is another really big thing, I make an effort to intentionally slow the heck down and actually do things that are gonna help me to be present and connected, like pulling away from my cell phone, actually playing with my daughter and not trying to do other things. I make time to create. I make time to write. I really like to write. When I go on my walks, I don't put my headphones in. I'm usually not talking and like connecting and walking at the same time. Like I'm just doing one thing. I think so much of what we do in life, right, is we're constantly going and doing. We're not really present because we're trying to do like this and that, and we're not actually slowing down. And so it's so important for me in my day to day to slow down and to practice pulling away and just simplifying and being more present because I do have that tendency to go, go, go and do all the things all the time, but I know that's not helpful because I feel that in my body when I'm going and doing and I don't slow down. I feel that tension. I feel that fatigue. I feel that lack of clarity. Like it doesn't feel good. So I really try my best to pull back on the doing and just let myself be, like let myself actually be present with the thing that I've chosen to be present with. Okay, the next one is it's along these same lines, is I make sure not to take on more. And what I mean by this is I intentionally don't take in more information like mentally than what I know I can handle. Like I typically don't watch the news, I don't read news like articles. I have one podcast that I like that provides like daily updates of what's going on in the world. And I only tune into those when I feel like I have the capacity to. So I use my phone in a very conscious, mindful way. Like I am not just ever scrolling through and like, oh, what horrific stuff could I look at now? Because I feel like everything that you open, news, Facebook, whatever it is, like it's just you're being inundated with way too much stuff. Like our nervous system was not built to take on all of this stuff. So I am very intentional about what I take in mentally, what I'm looking at, what I'm listening to. And I only do this stuff when I know I have the capacity to, which honestly isn't like at all lately. I don't know about you, but I don't have the capacity to take on more stuff. Like there's so much overwhelm, fear, anxiety, so much scary stuff. And I know like I have to take care of my mental health, and pulling back is incredibly helpful with that. Okay, the next one, and it's probably the biggest one that I do on a daily basis to support myself, I actually listen to myself. That little quiet voice in me that says, hey, Shannon, this doesn't feel good. We're not feeling so good. I think we might need something. I slow things down and I listen. And I say, okay, what do I need right now to support myself? What do I need to do? Oftentimes it's pulling away from the doing and just letting myself be. But I really listen to myself. Like, this is a skill that I feel like I've gotten really good at because I've practiced it a lot. This slowing down and just listening to that voice. And I'll give you an example. The other day I was feeling really overwhelmed. Like, I had a lot of thoughts. There was just a lot going on in my brain, and when I have a lot of thoughts and stuff going on in my brain, it causes me to feel a lot in my body, and this is true for really all of us, right? And if you don't work through those feelings that our thoughts often bring, it just causes more feeling and more feeling. So I knew, like, I've got to work through this in some way, and this little voice within me was saying, "Hey, go get your journal. I think you need to write." And I don't know why I'm getting emotional right now, but journaling is not something that I often do. I don't normally journal. I do write because I enjoy writing, but I usually have a purpose or intention behind the writing. But I grabbed my journal and I just started writing. And I literally wrote 4 pages of just stuff, like whatever I was thinking, whatever I was feeling, I just wrote it down. I wasn't really thinking about what I was writing down. I wasn't judging it. I wasn't trying to manipulate it. I was just writing, and whatever I was thinking and feeling was coming out. And this is such an incredibly helpful practice that I do from time to time, but I honestly only do it when I have that little voice within me that says, "Hey, we need something right now." And usually when I get quiet, I know, like, I can get a sense of what I need. So this here is where I want to say, right? We're thrown all of these ideas of tools and things that we can do to help support ourselves. And so we're like doing the journaling, we're doing the meditation, we're doing the exercise routines, but we're not doing them because we feel this sense of like, this is going to be good for me, this is going to be helpful. We're doing it just to get rid of feelings. We're doing it just to not struggle. We're doing it to check a box. We're doing it because somebody said to do it and it will be helpful. If this is your intention in doing these practices, it's not actually going to have the result that you're looking for. If you are only journaling, meditating, creating this insane morning routine, doing all this shit that you don't even want to be doing or enjoy doing, it is not going to lead you to the relief that you're looking so hard for. So I'll say this here. I don't just do things to do them. Like, I do not check boxes. I used to do this and I learned it was so unhelpful. Like, I am not meditating, I'm not going to yoga, I'm not doing anything that doesn't really bring me any sort of presence, fulfillment, joy, just because somebody else said that it's good for them and helpful for them. Like, I know, and we typically know what's good and helpful for us. And we need to listen to that voice, right? And we need to listen to our own knowing and our own wisdom. So it's not just going out and doing all the things and checking all the boxes just to hopefully get that relief. It's actually slowing down and listening to ourselves and getting curious, like, what's actually helpful? What do I need right now? What's supportive to me? What's one thing that I can do right now to take care of myself? So this kind of brings us full circle, right? Because at the very beginning, I'm saying we can't just create these crazy routines. We can't have all these expectations that, like, I'm going to do all this stuff and then voila, I'm going to feel better. Like, our brains and bodies don't need all that shit. They're very smart. They're very wise. They know how to come back down to balance. And they do all of that with much less doing and forcing and trying so hard. When we get in the mix and we try to do and force and make ourselves better, that's when shit usually gets worse. That's when the anxiety typically gets louder. That's when we typically struggle more. And I get it. You do this stuff, right? Because you really just want to feel better. You want to get better. You don't want to be struggling anymore. And it's so hard to pull back on that doing. But less is truly more. Supporting yourself, like taking care of yourself in those healthy, basic ways, doesn't have to look like a long list of routines. It's really about simple, doable things that actually help you feel grounded and supported and cared for. So I want you to think about what less is more might look like in your life. And what's one simple thing you could do daily that would actually feel supportive, not stressful? Something that's not just checking boxes, right? More intention brings more presence, brings more of all that calmness, that peace, that feeling more balanced. Okay, I feel like that was a lot. I'm sure there are some things that I'm leaving out. Like, I'm definitely a list person. I make lists so that I can sort of keep myself on track. I love checking boxes. Like, that gives me joy, makes me feel accomplished. I'm sure there are other little things, but these are really the big, basic ways that I support myself. And I cannot emphasize enough that listening to yourself, just taking the smallest, basic, most healthy steps really goes the longest way in supporting yourself. So please, please, please don't get sucked into all these wellness routines and go out buying all this stuff. And I swear that's part of it, right? Like, we're just constantly sold shit. Spend your money, you'll feel better. Do this, do that. Like, and it's just this whole like money making scheme, right? Like, you do not need all that stuff. I am not in this calm, grounded, peaceful place because I am going to all these exercise classes or going in the sauna or doing red lights or taking all these supplements. That's another thing. I also don't take anything. Like, I don't take supplements. I just eat a really good, nutrient dense, whole food diet. Like, I am just that person that's like, things are so much more basic and not complicated. And we need to bring things back to simplicity. And I think that's where we would all feel so much better. Okay. I will definitely talk more about this because this is a topic I really like and enjoy talking about. I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, I would love for you to share it with someone who you think could use it. And definitely, if you have not yet, please go on, rate and review my podcast. Those ratings and reviews go such a long way. It helps people to find me and my podcast and it helps them to get the support they need. And also, too, I just love seeing them. Like, I love knowing people are listening and they're finding it helpful. And that just keeps me going and brings me so much joy. Okay, until next time, my friend, keep taking healthy action. I hope you loved this episode of A Healthy Push. If you have, I'd be so grateful if you could leave me a rating and review wherever you're listening to this podcast. This helps people to find the show and get the support they need. And if you know someone who could use a little push, be sure to share this episode with them. And for even more support, head over to ahealthypush.com for show notes and loads of tips, tools, and inspiration to help you on your recovery journey. I'll see you next week.